So let's go ahead and get started. Welcome prospective families to the Walker Parents Call here. Very informal discussion that we're going to have tonight. So if you have a comment or a question, feel free to put it in the chat window. We'll get it and we will read it and see one of the parents who's the most appropriate to sort of address that. We've got some basic pointers that we will talk about ourselves and our kids and our experiences. We all have had children either go through Walker or are currently in Walker, and at all various levels, lower school, middle school, and upper school. So lots of experiences to share with you guys. Any questions before we sort of just get the discussion going here?
Maybe we could go around and everyone could give their name and the ages of their children and maybe when you entered Walker, the Walker School.
Sure. I'll go ahead and start. So I have two that have graduated. My oldest daughter graduated in 2017. Allison, and she's now a senior at Vanderbilt. My son, Sean, graduated in 2018. He's now a junior at NYU, and I have a 10th grader, Ava.
And my name is Vicki. I have two daughters at the Walker School, a 9th grader, and I have a senior who will be heading down to the University of Miami for college next year.
This is Eileen Rail. I am a mother of 3 at Walker, 9, 7th, and 5th grade. And each one of them is different. One is artsy, one is sportsy, and one is like a nerdy techie kid.
Nice.
And my name is Meg Bowles, and I have 2 boys at Walker. Brady is a 6th grader. He joined last year in 5th grade. He joined the New Avenues program and then stayed on for middle school. And this past summer, we moved our youngest son over, Henry, and he is in the 4th grade at Walker. They both moved for different reasons, but are both loving it and thriving there.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Okay, Natasha.
Hi, this is Natasha. I have 2 daughters at the Walker School. One is in 7th grade, and I have another one in 9th grade. I moved my 9th grader there last year when she was in the 8th grade, and now I have a 7th grader that just started this year.
Hi, I'm Gene and my wife Holly. So we have 4 children. Our youngest, Owen, is in 3rd grade, and he just joined Walker this year. We have 3 other children who are non-Walker, actually. Well, we have a 6th grader, an 8th grader, and a 12th grader at other Cobb County schools. And you want to say why or anything about Owen?
So far, so good. Yeah, Owen's loving it. I will say that. It's been a great fit for him, and he's just thriving like we hoped he would. And we're just thrilled to be a part of Walker.
My name is Veronica Gaina, and I have 2 girls. The first one is Ava. She's in 2nd grade. We came over to Walker when she was in 1st grade. And then I have my other child, my youngest is Nora. She's in the primary side, and she's in the pre-K program. And next year she'll be in the kindergarten program. We love Walker, and just for you guys to understand, I toured all the schools available, even down to Atlanta, because I wanted to make sure that we made the right decision and no regrets. I just wish I would have started earlier with my oldest. That's it.
Very nice. Was that everybody?
My name is Justin Staus. This is my wife, Melanie. And we have 2 children at Walker. We have a son who is Tanner, who is a sophomore. And he started in 9th grade. And then our daughter Avery is in 7th grade, and she started this year in 7th grade.
Does anyone maybe want to share telling us something pleasant, or a pleasant surprise your family encountered when you first arrived to Walker, something you didn't expect?
I personally loved, I don't want to say it, well, yes, actually, yes, it was a pleasant surprise to see how friendly everybody is. It's not just staff, it's the families, the parents. It's the perfect, they do such a great job. Everyone that's there blends in so nicely. And that for me was wonderful because, like I mentioned before, I had toured a lot of schools, and Walker just was, it felt like that's it. That's the right one. It felt like an extension of my family. So for me, that was the best thing.
Yeah, for me, all of my kids came to Walker in the high school years. So, we had that process of transferring from schools and their friends in elementary and middle school. So the thing that really stood out to all of my kids and to me was that sense of community, how warm and generous everybody was, how welcoming the community was. I mean, in addition to, of course, the academics, but, to a kid, to a 9th grader who's meeting all new friends and coming to a brand new school, that friendliness was basically what made all of my kids, especially the first one, Allison, just made her say, yeah, Dad, this is where I want to be. So that was definitely a pleasant surprise, because you don't typically hear that a lot from kids going to a brand new high school.
And I would second that sense of community from the shadow day. We're new to Walker this year, all 3 kids. And the shadow day we did last year, we got in the car, we shut the doors, and unanimously, all 3 of my kids were like, we have to go here. And they were just so adamant and excited about school. And then, this is going to sound cheesy, but now that we've been there for the first year, it really provides this sort of second sense of community to our family. We've been divided at 2 or 3 schools for a while, and they now have the same stories. My daughter's social studies teacher is my son's baseball coach, and one will be in PE on the courts in the gym, and the other one will be doing laps, and they can watch each other and say, that's my brother, that's my sister, are you so-and-so's older brother? And they come home with all these shared stories and experiences. And I get goosebumps sometimes, and it's kind of like a really cheesy mom moment, but I'm like, oh, we've never had this before. It's always been so disconnected. So it's a real joy, if you will, to have that ease of transition every day. And they all get out of carpool together. And the middle school carpool teachers tell my 5th grader, you'll be here next year, right? You're coming next year. And they high five him. And he's not even in middle school. They don't know him, like from a day-to-day standpoint. So it's just a very friendly, safe bubble. It's like a second home to our family. And I know that sounds super cheesy, but I feel that way when I drop them off.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll go next. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'll go next. I wanted to just piggyback off of what Veronica said, in the sense that I toured a lot of schools. Okay, so we moved from Atlanta to Cobb County based on a certain feeder pattern that we wanted our kids to go to in Cobb County public schools. And then we got here and we realized that there may be something better. And we began to tour all the various schools. And I'm at a place in my life where I can be honest. I am very particular, extremely particular. And Walker was the place where I felt like they were vested in my kids. And I feel like you guys, like it's just a second home. They do such a good job. And when I ask my kids, who are also very particular, like their mom, how do you all like the school? And they say, well, we like the school, but I really like the teachers. They really want you to pass. So that's good.
I think what I was going to say combines what you all were saying. And I think they're all just so intentional about engaging all the children. And when my son started 5th grade last year, he did not want to be there and told me that every day as I dropped him off, because we were moving him to a smaller school. And Eileen knows this. And every day it was leaving his friends. Alex, as you were saying that, he was a 5th grade boy leaving his circle. And he was, really engaged with the children at his public elementary. And it was a great school. But very quickly, people took an interest in him. And the teachers are so intentional about everything they do and who they mix him up with. And anyone who opens your car every day, they know who your child is at the beginning of the day and the end of the day, whether it's the head of the school or the head of the lower school or, a teacher that's not even your child's grade level. Everyone knows who your kids are and they know the siblings. And so I think that gives the kids such a sense of community. And it was very quick. Then all of a sudden he wanted to be there every day and I wasn't the worst person on the planet. And so I think that the school is just so warm and welcoming. Even if your child doesn't believe you at first, but.
I guess I got one thing. I echo everybody's comments on the warmth of the school. I guess the one thing that's not on kind of the feeling side of the house, though, but we did look at a lot of schools, especially around the COVID pandemic arena. And so one thing that we saw that Walker was much better at than a lot of the other schools we looked at. They were organized. They had a plan. They
Communication.
Yes. So one thing I kudos to Walker is during this COVID pandemic, they've done an outstanding job. And I know that's not, you can't say that about a lot of organizations or counties and so forth, but
right.
Walker's done an outstanding job.
Yeah. And with our son coming in new, and we toured in the summer because we weren't sure what was going to happen. And, to feel that way as a new family, we were just blown away by that. And for the teachers to all project such warmth and welcoming while they're dealing with a whole new system of how they're going to teach, it's been amazing. So we're always we feel like we kind of got a preview year this year, and we can't wait to actually be able to be in the building more and get to know all of you guys more. And, but if it's this good this way, we can't wait to see what's next.
Mm-hmm.
And the communication through the whole COVID process has just been spectacular. And I have, most of my friends' kids are not at the Walker School. And I actually have a really good friend that's a principal at another private school. And she sends me very frequent emails. What are y'all doing about this? What are y'all doing about this? Because she knows that Walker has been like the gold standard through this whole process. And she's trying to figure it out for her school, and they've just done a fabulous job.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess I will say, the fact that my kids have been face-to-face since the option was present, because I'm confident in the faculty and the staff. My girls have been through volleyball season, both of them, the middle school and the high schooler. They have went through basketball season, and they're currently in lacrosse season. And it is only because I fully am 100%. I have no reservations when I drop them off. It's like I'm just dropping them off to my mom, to a relative. And I'm just like, okay, bye. So it's a good feeling that I don't think I would have had they been in a public K-12 setting.
Yeah, I think the protocols have been really, really spectacular. And I echo the sentiment, I feel very comfortable sending Ava to school, with all of the plans and contingency plans that are in place. Should something happen or should there be a breakout, I feel very confident that, it'll be handled appropriately. So let me throw another question out. We've heard all of the great things that we love about Walker. What would you guys say maybe the hardest part of the transition to Walker or, coming in as when we all were new parents at one point in time?
I can jump in and attest to the fact that I may have been a little bit of a helicopter parent. And so Walker's push for self-advocacy from the students, I'm just like, I feel lighter. I don't have, you just took care of it. You emailed my child, you guys worked it out. My kids are like, I need to go to school earlier in the morning. I need to meet with Miss So. I'm just like, this is great. I should have did this like a long time ago.
Yeah, I'd like to piggyback on Natasha. I fall into the helicopter parent mode as well. And I think what I was most impressed with is that children are expected and allowed to make mistakes and then be guided as to maybe what they should have done differently. And when I, periodically see email exchanges between my children and their teachers, it is so impressive to me, the respectful manner that the teachers speak to the kids, and in turn sets an example for how our children should speak to others. And I agree with you 100%. I wish I would have made the move sooner, because I feel as if that self-advocacy, starting that in middle school or even earlier, would have just enhanced our entire experience as a family.
I agree. Especially seeing my youngest go through the preschool program, the primary program. I see where Ava was struggling a little bit in the first quarter of first grade. But she quickly was brought up to speed. And I loved how Walker was able to bridge that gap. But now I see the missing piece. She needed that foundation of the primary school so that when she got into first grade, she's doing phonics, it was something that you overlook. You don't think it matters. But then once you see how Walker breaks down things, you're like, it did matter. And so that has been one of my regrets, that I wish I would have done it earlier. But like my other fellow parents, I was also a helicopter mom, and I wanted to just control everything and be close by. I wasn't ready for my oldest to go off into a full day program. And so, but now that I see my youngest one doing just fine and actually thriving, I do regret that. That's on the back of my mind, and I regret it. That I didn't do it sooner.
We are answering the question, Alex, as far as what was difficult for us. What was difficult was to relinquish control and to trust the process.
Sure.
It was extremely difficult.
I'll tell you a funny story about my son. So my son took the math entrance exam, and he did relatively well. And the night that you go and you're trying to figure out what your schedule is going to be, and he was, going from 8th grade to 9th grade. And so we met with the teachers and got to talking with some of the math teachers and said, he did pretty good on the entrance math exam. And I said, what do you guys think? Do you think he should take the regular class, or should he take the, I forget what it was, honors or advanced placement? And here's where the light bulb went off for me. They said, oh no, it's up to him how much he wants to push himself, and they said, this is the start of them taking ownership of their education. And boy, I remember going home that night. I was like, boy, this is a different kind of place, And now that I have two in college, that was the beginning of them taking the ownership of their education. It's like, how much do you want to put into this? which will determine how much you get out of it, you know. And I always remember that night talking with that teacher.
Yeah, and just to carry over what Alex and Natasha are saying, my ninth grader, I have a little bit of regret not sending her sooner. And one of the reasons we shifted schools, she was in a previous private school. And if we're having true confessions here, I am not a helicopter parent. And I found out that she was basically just skirting by with excuses and, oh, sorry, this is late. And, oh, I want to turn it in a day late. Can I do that? And it was a little too easy, too many, they were just letting her slide. And so I was pleasantly surprised at Walker when they did not let that happen. And what they would teach her is say, you can turn it in late, but it's 50% off. And or you can't turn it in late and you have a 0. And so I love those natural consequences, love, love, love. And I'm very encouraged that my middle and lower schooler will have those natural consequences going into high school and not have to have the boot camp she did on how real life works and how you can't just keep getting special favors through life, like in college and when you go out into the work world.
Does anyone else want to share about that question, or should we move on to another one?
Well, just logistically, one of the things that was a little challenging for us was the commute. You know, you go from having a situation where you either have a 5-minute drive to drop them off and carpool at your local public school, or, you know, perhaps the bus is picking them up. We have a relatively short commute compared to other Walker families. It's about 20 or 25 minutes. But initially, that was a shock to the system, having to get up early in the morning. And Eileen kind of mentioned this, but it's really become the time where, as a family, we're sharing stories, as opposed to one kid going off to middle school and one kid going off to high school. It's our family time together in the morning and in the afternoon when we're doing carpool. So it's become a very special time to us in terms of parents and kids.
Did anyone's child have trouble navigating the campus, either in the lower school, the middle school, the high school, or the athletic department, going from one field or the gym? Does anyone want to share any of that? Any trouble in those areas?
I didn't have problems navigating the campus, but I was on overload with Walker Web. I was not used to having all of that data. Typically in a K-12 setting, they use Infinite Campus or something like that for their student information system. But the Walker Web is just like a life of its own. I mean, it's just so much stuff there. And once I realized you can see the missing assignments, it's just like, it's like the Bible for parents. So, but that was a little hard for me to navigate because I'm like, I'm not going to look on there today because there's so much stuff. You could just keep looking. So much going on with these practices. I just hop on Walker Web and see when I'm supposed to pick them up because their daily schedule is there, what time they eat lunch, if they have lacrosse practice, what time is over. Everything is there.
Yeah, it's uber organized. I totally agree. There's nothing you can ask that won't be posted on Walker Web. It is definitely my go-to for organization. What about as a parent, when you have questions, where do y'all go? Who have you gone to? We've been able to feel comfortable in talking and asking questions. Has it been the grade level dean or teachers or other parents? How did you get comfortable when you initially started at the Walker School?
Mine was just direct teachers, directly emailing the teachers, and they respond promptly. And depending on what question I had, but the age level dean, fantastic. So they've always been approachable and respond quickly. So those have been the teachers, and the deans. Even Miss Dory up in the lower school, she knows a lot. She's the one that handles everything up in the front office. And so you just ask her and she'll get you to the right person.
Yeah, I don't know if, again, we're new parents to Walker this year, but so we've gotten so many direct emails from Trey Vesey and Miss Doherty, and which doesn't happen obviously in public schools. You don't get direct emails from the administrators ever. But it is amazing. We've gotten to me, to Holly. It's not like a canned email to all these parents. It's hey, I want to tell you something about your kid directly from the administrators that we get. So it is, I mean, it's wide open. We definitely talk to Trey and Miss Doherty, and obviously our den leaders and so forth in lower school, and everybody's been super receptive.
Yeah, and I think that makes it easy to reach out to them. I mean, we feel comfortable with our questions, just, hey, and they do get back very quickly and guide us, because there are some things, especially with everything being, that's not being in person. I mean, he's in person, but we are not. And how are we supposed to work this? What about that? And they're just so quick with the responses and feel very warm and not like, why are you bothering us? Which is nice because, when you have an elementary school our kids went to the largest elementary school in Cobb County, the vibe is different there, and you have questions or you need to, it's the process to go through. And here it's just like, hey, we have a question about this. And like 30 minutes later, here's your response. This is very, very nice.
I think the other thing, and this has been alluded to several times, but the community is so gracious that in the event you totally mess something up, there's always somebody available to try to help out. So, when our son was starting 9th grade and I was still trying to figure out exactly how I was supposed to get all of his books ordered, I find out that, oh, indeed, there are families that just give you their books from a prior year or sell them to you at basically next to nothing. This semester, our 7th grade daughter needed to take PE. And I realized about 2 days before PE was supposed to start that she didn't have a PE uniform. And, she came to me and she said, Mom, don't worry about it. One of my friends is already giving me her uniform from last semester. It just is an incredible environment when you're trying to figure things out, because if you do fall short as a parent, there is somebody who is always willing to try to help you out.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice to hear.
Yeah, and another thing that I think really needs to be called out is how Walker encourages all of the kids to step out of their comfort zone and try new things or sign up for a new club. And all of my kids who've gone through Walker, have taken that to heart. And it's amazing the things that they gravitate to or say, oh, I kind of like this because, there's been some things that, we just never thought of, but that constant encouragement to step out of your comfort zone and just try something for a semester or, if you don't like it, especially with all of the clubs that are offered at Walker, in hindsight with my two oldest, that was a significant part of their development was really having, the courage to say, oh, I think I'm going to try this. I don't know if I'm going to like it. Never done it before. My daughter had never played softball before. And we went to, this was when we first became part of the Walker family, went to a function where she met a couple girls on the softball team and they encouraged her to come out, try out for the team. And, she made friends with, juniors and seniors, and for that kid coming from a brand new school, I mean, that was a really big deal. And I just think that speaks to the climate at Walker, and what they really try to develop, you know, and nurture with all of the kids.
And I would say that they not only, I have 3 kids, and they each teacher kind of engages with them in different ways. I agree with pushing them to try new things, push them out of their comfort zone. And then also they pick up on whatever their passion is, the student's passion is, and just run with it. I mean, it's so amazing to see the encouragement my 5th grader gets to be techie. He's really into architecture, 3D printing and all that. And he's 3D printing eraser holders for all the 5th grade teachers for their dry erase markers boards. And he's measuring and designing and putting their name on it. And I mean, it's just amazing what he comes home with. And so he just does all these extra projects that he and his peers, he's not special, his friends are doing it with him, that they do outside of regular school, sort of as homework, basically, at home projects for fun. And he just gets in the car talking about how amazing his day is every day, because they've just sort of tapped in to what he's passionate about. And I believe they're doing that for all the other kids as well, not just him. So it just, every day I'm like, oh, I love Walker.
Do we have any questions from any of the attendees on the call? I don't see any. Okay, no questions as of yet. Quite a bunch. So just sort of going around, sort of round robin here. Are there any things that we haven't really touched on that you think would be of importance to a new family, you know, either coming into Walker or trying to make a decision to come to Walker?
You know, we had a really great experience with the sports. My daughter's a soccer player, but she started playing basketball and became very friendly with Natasha's daughter. Thank goodness, because that was Amanda's very, very first friend and still her closest friend at school. And, you know, they would joke around. Daly's an excellent basketball player, but just the camaraderie between those two and the connection she had. And Daly would encourage her to play basketball. And, you know, that's not her sport, but she worked hard and she played hard, and they really got to build their friendship, and she got to know the other players on the team. And as a freshman coming in, you know, having access to sophomores and juniors and seniors and having that sense of community on the basketball team just within the school was our saving grace, because my daughter didn't want to leave her friends at all. And we didn't give her the choice. We said, you know, this is the school we believe is the best place for you. And she's an athlete. So she dove right in with the basketball throughout the summer, and now she's playing soccer. And it's been terrific, and she's doing great academically. The teachers are supportive. And I think someone said, actually, I emailed the soccer coach day before yesterday, and I said she's going to be out for a dentist appointment. And the soccer coach texted me back and said, "That's great. I appreciate it. But from now on, I need to hear from your daughter, not you. You're out." And they start in every single corner teaching these kiddos to advocate for themselves. So academically, athletically, and, you know, even when they're not going to be at school, you know, they want the kiddos to email these teachers and keep them updated. You know, of course, we're CC'd on that because if they're not going to be at school, right? But they really are promoting that these kids be independent. And, you know, the growth I've seen from my daughter from the beginning until now. And it's hard because, you know, she still has her friends at her other school, but she goes to school every day and she's not complaining, and she comes home with a smile, and she's at every single practice, and she is so proud to be there. And frankly, I think she kind of likes that she's got both lives. You know, she's got, you know, her old friends, but at her new school, she's thriving athletically and academically. So for us, the athletic piece, get involved in every single sport you might even be interested in, and stay busy and get to know as many people as you can. Because it's true, your coach might be your sister's English teacher and vice versa. And that's been the experience we've had. It's been amazing.
So here's a question in the chat. I don't know if you guys see this. Thank you for your insight. Do any parents have children that have taken swim with Walker? Wanted to know how often there was swim practice / meets and how that worked out logistically. Anybody have kids on the swim team? I did not.
Well, my daughter is not on the swim team, but she's really good friends with someone that is on the swim team. So I know for a fact that we do have a swim team, and they did, her friend ranked in the state, well, she went to the state competition for swimming. So yes, they do have a swim team, and they're pretty good.
And I would just add to what Vicki was saying about the sports and when you're new, just adding, because for my son, that was really important. And I think something unique at Walker is that the 5th graders are allowed to do some of the middle school sports. And so for if you're thinking about 5th grade or the lower school, I know for a lot of the 5th graders, that's a great way to start interacting with some of the middle schoolers and just seeing what middle school's like, or getting, for my 5th grader last year, he met some of the middle schoolers and they were great role models for him. And just starting to be a part of the football and the lacrosse, even when he was in 5th grade, was really important to him.
Yeah. Here's another question. If your child is not a sports kid, will they find other things that they can get involved with? So I talked about my oldest playing softball. She only played for 1 year, her freshman year. And so none of my 3 kids are sports kids. None of them played sports at Walker. And they found so many things to do and get involved with. I mean, you know, from yearbook to drama to the robotics team, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, they had packed schedules like you can't imagine. So there's a tremendous amount for kids who aren't sports kids to get into and discover at Walker.
I wanted to say a couple of things regarding, I don't know if Walker's going to offer face-to-face summer camps, but we got in before the whole pandemic thing. And I have to say those summer camps were crucial for my firstborn to kind of acclimate to the campus, to the children who were going to eventually end up in her classroom, and then also to other children who she was going to cross the hallway with. So if Walker offers a summer camp, I encourage your child to do it, whether it's an art camp, a science camp, or a sports camp. I think that's important to acclimate as a new parent. And then someone asked about dyslexia, ADHD, ADD. Neither one of my children have it, but I do know that they're always watching for little flags and markers. And if they feel like your child may have a learning disability of some sort, they will reach out and say, hey, you know what? We saw this. We're going to look into it further with your permission. Can we do blah, 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 blah? And then they connect you right with the right people that can help you address any concerns you may have. But I've heard the feedback. Some people have transitioned from other private schools to Walker specifically for the Avenues program that they offer, because they feel like their child is getting more one-on-one attention and actually their needs are finally getting met. And if they need additional time, the teachers are fantastic about making that extra time in lower school during homeroom or downtime and say, okay, you know what, Ava, come this way and we'll work on blah, 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 blah. But it's phenomenal, phenomenal.
One of the things that I I'm most excited about is a class called Applied Strategies in the upper school. And it's an entire class devoted to helping your kid get organized, helping them go through their emails, make sure they do their assignments, highlighters, tabs, studying for tests. It's kind of like they're custom making a curriculum for your kid. I've pivoted from the beginning of the school year even until now, where I reached out to the head of schools and I felt like with all of the extracurricular activities my kids have, that they get home late. I wanted more time built into the school day for them to get some of their work done. So one of my daughters actually has 2 study halls built into her schedule so she can complete a lot of her homework at school. So there's definitely a lot of support. My middle schooler had a bit of trouble transitioning from Cobb County Schools, who was on Teams, and Walker is on Google Classroom. And so she was accustomed to doing things in Teams, and she had to learn how to work the whole Google Docs and all of that stuff. And they just did a great job with making sure that she knew how to access everything and get everything. And I am tech illiterate for the most part. It's a miracle that I'm even on this chat. So everything that she learned about the computer and what to do, it was taught to her at school.
We have a question from a parent. Can anyone speak about learning support at Walker for kids with learning challenges like ADD, ADHD, or dysgraphia, or just a bright student that might just need a little bit more time?
I can speak a little. I can speak a little bit to it. So Brady, my 6th grader, in the lower school, there's a program that some students will do if they've been diagnosed with dyslexia, and you can apply for it. So I encourage you, if you're looking at that, to reach out. And so that is those students will be for certain classes, reading and certain things. There's a small group pullout for that. And then some of it they're with their grade level for science and other classes. But then those students and then some others, as they move to middle school and high school, all of their classes, they're with all the other students. But I will say, so my 6th grader, he then does, for his dyslexia, has some accommodations for that. And to be honest, you kind of hear these horror stories of trying to get accommodations for students that may have need learning support. And really, in my opinion, at Walker, it's been a non-issue because they really just take care of it. In the beginning of the year or over the summer, we meet and, and to be honest, again, it's really student-led. He knows what he needs and what he gets, but it's really just not an issue. The teachers are all about, whether your child has, needs learning support or doesn't, they want your child to learn. And so really the teachers meet, and there's a couple learning support specialists in middle school and high school, and they make sure that the students get the support they need. So yes, they're very accommodating when students have diagnoses that require support.
Yeah, it's almost like every kid has an IEP. Every kid has an individualized education plan. The fact that the kids select their courses, the amount of courses that they can take. For example, my middle schooler, her advisor just so happens to be the art teacher. And although she plays all these sports, she's very creative. And so she just came home. She was so excited. She was just like, oh, I'm going to join theater. They said I can do set design. I can do this. And she's just gung-ho about it. So there's definitely things there for kids who are more creative, on the creative side of things, to get involved as well. And I see in the chat, someone is asking about transitioning in the middle of the year or during high school years. The parents, the community is so small. I just feel like in a public school, they were a student ID number. And they're not a student ID number here. Everything is about family. The Walker Web, I've had parents to reach out to me and email just to say, hey, I saw Daly's basketball game. She did such a great job. By the way, I'm Vicki Stein. We've never met. I'm just like, that was nice. Like, everybody's just like super, super nice. And so I also think it's like great that the head of school is like at our fingertips. You never get to the principal. It's like getting to the president of the United States in a K-12 setting. You can't just walk up to the school and say, I want to talk to the principal. And it's like, what do you need? Is there anything I can help you with? But if you want to talk to the head of school, you can email them and they will email you back. So I think that that's just awesome.
So I'll go even one higher than that. So Jack Hall, who is over all of the schools, lower, middle, and the upper school, I think title's the headmaster. For my two kids who've already graduated, upon their graduation, Jack wrote a handwritten 2-page letter to both of them and really just wished them well and just encapsulated their 4 years at the school and how proud he was of them. And he knew that they would go on to do great things. I mean, so, let alone the principal, but this was the headmaster who has to look after such a huge range of kids. And for him to, not only know my kids to that extent, but also take the time to, handwrite them a letter, I think really speaks volumes for the type of community that we've been speaking about on this call.
And to top off what Mr. Nesmith said, Mr. Alex, Mr. Hall is phenomenal as well. I mean, I remember my new parent meeting I had with him and hearing his story, how much he loves children. That just, it made me teary-eyed because it further confirmed I had made the right choice. And, for me, it was a big deal. It was a very big deal because, like I said, I toured all the private schools and a lot more, just trying to make the right decision because I didn't want my children to be upset with me, or get bullied. Like I saw someone concerned about that because that was one of my concerns. I remember asking Ms. Harrison, she's part of director of admissions, and I was like, how do you handle that? Because I don't like that. And she was like, well, we have, a strict policy about that, and we do not do bullying. And I was reassured that all children are welcome equally and they're loved and cared for. And it's that whole extension of family. I felt like I could hand over my child for long hours without feeling, oh my God, is she going to be okay? Is she going to get picked on because she wasn't here since primary? But she wasn't. She was welcomed nicely. And my second one, just as well, she just jumps right in. And I love it. I love it. I can't rave enough about it.
And if I could just speak real quick to the question about the ADD and the ADHD, I have, my senior has ADD, and she has gotten a lot of support in the upper school. They have someone, and that's the only thing she does is she's there to support these kiddos with ADD, with the planning, with the executive function. And she was been very instrumental in making sure that she's kind of followed through with her tracks. And as I said at the beginning, she's headed off to college. She's in, she's ready to go. But the support that they've given through that has been really, really helpful. And I am a Norton Gillingham teacher. I'm a reading specialist, and I send lots and lots of my students to the Walker School, to the New Avenues program, because I think it's terrific. I know some of the folks that work over there. They've been in the Orton Gillingham program for a really long time. So as a mom, I support it, but also as an educator, I send lots of my students there because I think they do a really, really good job of supporting these kids and mainstreaming them right into regular classes. And we had one more question. I think we touched on it a little bit. The question is for the kids who started in 9th grade or 8th grade or 10th grade. Did you feel you could get involved and be a part of the community, even with the families who had been there since preschool or the elementary years? And we fit in very, very easily. My daughter started in 9th grade and my other daughter started in 11th grade. And we just jumped right in with the sports and the extracurricular, and everyone was friendly and warm and made them feel welcome. So much so that my daughter got calls over the summer and said, "Oh, hey, I hear you're coming to the Walker School. We'd love to meet you. Come, let's get together. We're going to call a bunch of girls." And that way, when school starts, you've got some people that you can call friends. And they were super welcoming for us.
So, Vicki, it's interesting because we had almost the exact same experience with our 7th grade daughter. She started at Walker this year and had an entire group of friends that she had never met in person before the first day of school. People who reached out to her to welcome her, to say, you know, we would like to go to Marietta Square. Would you like to go with us once school starts? Our son, who started at Walker in the 9th grade, had a 10th grade girl who lived in our neighborhood that invited a number of her Walker friends over one day during the summer and said, "Come and join us all at the pool so you can meet some people before you start." And I think that was probably one of the things I was most impressed with, is that there were people, children, willing to welcome them before they had even stepped foot in the school. It made the transition super seamless.
Well, and the biggest battle we had on our hands transitioning our daughter Avery to Walker School was leaving her friends. And she was adamant. It was probably a good year-long battle that she was not going to leave her friends and go to the Walker School. And so it was inevitable that we wanted her to transition as soon as possible. How much we enjoyed it, and our son enjoyed it starting in 9th grade. And so just the mere fact that she loved the tour that she took, warmed up to the idea. But what really sealed the deal for the transition was those groups of girls reaching out to her and making friends and hanging out for several weeks in advance before school even started, and has made several good friends. Many good, so, and she's not a sports person either. She doesn't even like to sweat. So, for the fact that she's made so many friends, and really this year has been probably a little bit more challenging, obviously, in the beginning with remote learning and then eventually getting back on campus. That, I think it's just the opportunities she's going to have and down the road with the extracurricular activities on campus we're really looking forward to.
And I think the underlying tone here is that it might be not at other schools, at least not public schools, is the small class sizes. And that's easy to say and throw out there, but when there's only 9 kids in a classroom, and for English in middle school, you don't get lectured on what the book is about and why it's important, and you don't get called on singularly. You're in a circle talking about the book as a group. And my 5th grader, we had a couple weeks ago, we had a week of virtual school with the breakout of cases and so forth. And they all stayed on the Zoom during lunch. They all went and got their lunch, came back and played Among Us on the Zoom together. And so there's just going back to that word community. I hate to overuse that, but it's really just every little part of the day is like a little niche group. Mm-hmm. It's very difficult to be and a class of 30 be the new kid in the back row sitting and kind of turn into a wallflower. I mean, you're almost forced to engage. They pull your personality out of you. And it shows when you talk to your kid how happy they are and how engaged they are and how they tell you stories about people in their class. It's just very organic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys had this experience in talking with the teachers, but it's like every teacher that I have a conversation with, it's like, yeah, I have kids here too. So it's like all of the faculty, their kids go there too. So it's good enough for their kids too. And you don't get that sometimes other places. Someone may work at a school, but their kid doesn't go to that school. But at the Walker school, they're like, no, I have a kid. And somebody mentioned Catherine, who's my daughter's volleyball coach and the director of admissions. And I think she also teaches Spanish. And she's not here because her son is, I think, in a state game with the basketball team tonight, a state tournament. So that's why she's not here, because he goes to the Walker school. So I like the fact that it's good enough for their kids too.
Yeah, and I went to add kind of back to the kids with learning challenges. Our son, who's in third grade, hasn't been diagnosed with anything. So we've sort of been navigating last year at our public school in second grade, and then, everything shut down right as we were moving into like tier 3 and we were supposed to start testing, and none of that happened. So we had heard about, actually, it's where it wraps into what Natasha just said too. We have a friend at the Walker School, several friends that we've known for years, because our son, who's in 8th grade in public school, played lacrosse with these kids. And that woman ended up being his teacher this year. So that's amazing. Like, it was totally like a community kind of thing come together. But I talked to her over the summer, and she was like, you really should look at it, told me about the New Avenues program in case that's what he needs next year. But we're not sure yet. And we've just felt so supported. He'd started with a tutor as well last year who did OG tutoring, like you said, Vicki. And we were seeing huge gains. And so when we found out from this friend that Walker had the New Avenues if he needs that path, but that their entire curriculum is based on Orton Gillingham, and we were already seeing just in a few months huge progress, and his reading has skyrocketed this year. I mean, it has gone up so much. I think when school started, he had 7 kids in his class, and then when they merged to the full and having 14, and it was like he had instant friends. And they did the same thing a few weeks ago. Like, they had their snack over Zoom, and they were just all, it was so cute to hear them all chatting together, these little 3rd graders, and they're all showing each other their stuffed animals and like their snacks. And they've just really built a little community amongst themselves that is such a happy little thing to see. And then when you get that and the academic support, and we have the learning specialist as well, who's reached out to us early in the year, and we all agreed, like, let's just see how he does kind of organically with the smaller classes and with the, having OG kind of built into the curriculum. And then we got to a point later in the year, maybe December, where his teacher reached out to us and said, I think it's time for real testing now. Like, we've seen this progress, but here's where we're not seeing as much progress that we'd like to see. And to have that kind of open conversation with a kid that we don't know yet if he has ADD or if he has dyslexia, but that they're willing to put that kind of effort into those flags, like somebody said earlier, flag all the things along the way that, like, okay, so we've charted this and it's going up, but this isn't really, and so we actually were in the process this week of his like full psych educational testing. And we know that whatever comes out of that, the school is ready for his next, and they've said like New Avenues next year, if that's what he needs, it's there for him, or, whatever the case is. So that's really nice, as we don't yet know.
Yeah, I guess one thing, just people are saying, asking the question if you feel welcome coming in late starting from kindergarten. I think this panel is a really good example. I think most of the people didn't come from kindergarten even on this panel. And we know people that went to Walker, they didn't start in kindergarten either. So I think there's so much transition, people coming in, that it's not like 100% of the whole school can't start in kindergarten. So starting later on in the years, again, it's just a mixed community anyway. So I think that's great about Walker. We don't see everybody starting from the very beginning. So it's really everybody's just there to get together and feel warmth and community, as everybody said.
And it's probably obvious, we're talking a lot right here, but it's probably obvious from this whole thing that it's not the case. But I want to admit that one of my concerns after having 4 kids in public school was it going to be snobby? Was it going to be like a little stuffy there? I was so pleasantly surprised that was not the case. Because that was truly a concern. Catherine Harrison actually laughed at me when I asked, kind of like tiptoed around that question. She laughed at me and was like, no. So that was a huge relief. And so if anybody out there is concerned, I think by now they've hopefully feeling better about that.
Mhm.
That's great. I don't see any more questions coming in, so I think we can wrap up the call. Just want to thank everyone for joining tonight. Thank the panelists and the attendees. Hopefully we gave you guys a window into our experiences and what it was like for us to become new Walker parents and take that journey with our kids. And, you know, once again, for me, I have nothing but great things to say about Walker. You know, for those who weren't on the call in the beginning, I have 2 down, 1 to go. And, you know, my 2 oldest had great outcomes, are doing fantastic, and we're you know, thoroughly prepared for college upon graduation. So nothing but great things to say about Walker. So any last comments or? All right. So thank you. Everybody have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.